The Wizard archetype represents profound wisdom, transformative power, and mastery over hidden knowledge. While wizards don't exist in our real world, this powerful symbolic figure does have qualities that we all are aiming for, and therefore making us like a wizard. There are 3 essential characteristics to the Wizard archetype, and 5 absolute no-goes that destroy your ability to become one, that I'll cover in this video. So this video is about changing your life when it seems like the world is against you, about doing the impossible in times of crisis, and how to change your own fate by embodying your internal wizard. In other words, this video is about magic. Now, there's this loser kid that only gets bullied every day. His family mistreats him and he is an utter complete failure. And suddenly he gets told,
"You're a wizard, Harry."
The wizard appeals to our desire to be special, but there's also a certain fate in the wizard archetype, that he has chosen to change the trajectory of the world, to save it. Now it might seem silly to ponder these archetypes as like a real thing, but they are much realer than we pretend. We are in turbulent times right now, and you likely might wonder, why do anything with your life if everything just seems to be getting worse? When you see injustice and malice in the world increase, it is easy to give up to evil forces. But that's not what a real wizard would do, right? There are 3 fundamental characteristics of the wizard archetype, but way more important than these are the absolute no-goes of what a wizard is not and should never be, or in other words, can't ever be. First of all, the wizard is not dogmatic. A true wizard never clings to rigid beliefs or dogma. They remain open to new information and are willing to always change their perspective. A lot of people might think that this is what they're doing, but they've actually fallen into the delusion of the enemy. The amount of misinformation that currently is being spread in our modern social media landscape might as well be a curse. You don't want to fall into belief systems because they entrap your mind. If you believe you're not able to shift your life into a better direction, you've already lost the battle. Cynicism is holding tight onto all upcoming wizards. And this is what's causing all of the lack of wisdom in the world. I see so many people with hopeless attitudes towards politicians, society, and the future of their own lives. In a twisted way, if you're expecting the worst, why would you think your magic could ever work? It is just a lost battle before you even start, and it is lost mentally. Faith in good is power. Wizards understand that the time required for genuine transformation requires patience. If you want to shift your life into a state, well, then you need to allow time to change. You can't rush your big life shifts, because if they don't shift quick enough, then you'll just fall back into your old bad habits. A wizard doesn't avoid difficult truths or uncomfortable realities. They're willing to confront darkness head on, both in the world and especially within themselves. A wizard understands that wisdom comes from integrating the shadow aspects and not denying them. Most ordinary people are asleep and walk through life thinking they are awake. There are so many shadow aspects of each person that twist reality around. What you think is evil becomes good. What you think is true becomes falsehood. If you judge others with huge moral condemnation, the same moral condemnation might miss why things are how they are and to really get what you can do against them. A more understanding viewpoint gives great power and great wisdom over the nature of reality itself. And great influence can then be accomplished by really understanding what force you're up against, what belief system or idea another person holds that is preventing them to actually be your ally instead of your enemy. Because going into yourself and dissecting the painful parts of you that you don't want to see is where great wisdom is being built. To change always requires to push against your own boundaries, and to push against your own boundaries requires to be able to fight the darkness within. This is your internal volition. It's this what's fighting against the evil entrapment of the ego. The ego is dogmatic, impatient, and afraid of itself. It is the antithesis of virtue, because the wizard needs to put his own life at risk for the well-being of the many. But if you think that you are the center of the world, how are you supposed to save the world from itself? You've already been corrupted by the evil forces if you think from the position of ego. They do not need to be recognized as special. They understand that ego attachment blocks true insight and power. Their identity, or like the identity of the wizard, is not dependent on any sort of external recognition. All vanity is delusion, and it causes you to mistake your spells. They're going to fail. And this is why the wizard is not wasteful of its power. When you have the suspicion that you might actually be a quite powerful person, that you have a lot of potential inside of you, but you're not using it, well, this is like the call of the Ascension. In your own way, you have very unique abilities as a person that cannot be replicated by any. And you can use these forces for good, or you can just neglect these forces and let the world go on its own course. But then, of course, you won't amount to nothing, and you will not have the influence that you feel like the world needs. If you feel like the world is calling you to do something, you can just say that this is something your mind is making up, and then you can be in the comfort of your own home and shelter and never really confront the world. But this is actually a product of ego attachment. You're actually attached of having to be responsible for a certain result. And then the sense of responsibility can also cause you to be so obsessed with the outcome that you're actually missing the wisdom necessary to change the outcome. Because a lot of smart decisions require you to not be identified with your ego, to just go all in on an idea and to commit purely on the execution, no matter what the outcome is. It's like an act of pure will. If you have the power to become wiser and in the process make the world a better place, there will be no ego that could stand in your way. All this feeling of being inadequate and then procrastinating and doubting your own choices that moves you away from this quality that you're actually looking for. All of these were things that can corrupt you and fall off from the wizard mindset. But there are now 3 fundamental characteristics you want to understand to embody the internal wizard within. Wizards understand that everything is interconnected. They perceive the world as a complex system rather than isolated events. Within this system, you can see that you yourself are one more player. This player has immense freedom to enact genuine change, to move the trajectory of destiny, which there is the magic within life. How is it possible to have a destiny be called to you, but at the same time create your own? Each action you take in your life that might seem insignificant actually ripples out into infinity, because there's no atom that is not interconnected in the grand scheme of time and space. There's really always all of the universe clashing in on you, on your current experiences. There's nothing that is disconnected from you in any shape or form, even if you cannot perceive it. And there's a lot of depth in life that most people miss. There's real magic to life in the constant flux of transformation. This means that if you drink a glass of water, these molecules you drank came from the beginning of the stars. It's really not just water, it is a potion that is keeping you alive. We just see water and then harvest its power. But water is just one out of so many elements that you can harvest, in the way you're also harvesting the technology right in front of you. To understand the magic within makes you also see that even a small moment of engagement with technology throughout the day does in a sense corrupt you, or at least influence the rest of the decision making of your day. And you can even make it way more grandiose. You might argue that every single decision you make, no matter how small, influences your entire life, because now the story of your life or the trajectory of each of your decisions has now changed. And this awareness of the interconnectivity of all things shows how meaningful you as an individual are and how much potential you have to enact meaningful change from seemingly meaningless choices. This wisdom is the wisdom of a true wizard. This also interconnects with a more historical perspective. In this way, the wizard recognizes that humans go through cycles in history. Seeing how current events echo historical patterns is arming you with the ability to enact wisely and smartly throughout your day. This then allows you to anticipate likely outcomes others cannot see, because they simply ignore the movements of history. Nothing you see happening currently, like in our global political climate right now, is actually that extraordinary in the eternal wheel of the cosmos. Although it might seem that we are at unprecedented times right now, human history is really an endless chain of unprecedented times. The same way that your behavior is pretty much predictable as a human, if we were looking from top down, history's rims are also pretty predictable. It is difficult to predict it in like each instance, but you can generally, from the beginning of your day, kind of guess where the end of your day might end by like certain decisions you make. In the same way, we don't need to be in denial in which direction humanity is heading right now. The important thing is to not be in denial about anything. If you think a war might be coming, it is best to take it seriously and prepare for it, instead of cowering in denial and fear. The confrontation with the dark aspects of humanity without hesitation is what makes the difference between winning against evil or just surrendering to it. Wizards draw insights from different fields. Most good ideas come from people outside a certain niche. For example, Leonardo da Vinci combined art and science together by studying human anatomy through dissections. His artistic training gave him unique perspectives on how to visualize and document anatomical structures. When Leonardo da Vinci studied the heart, his background in fluid dynamics helped him correctly describe how heart valves work. And he did that centuries before modern medicine confirmed his findings. So you as a unique human have a unique set of experiences and skills, and this immensity of your own uniqueness is likely what is still foreign to you. You likely don't value how unique you as a person actually are and how much value there is in your unique authenticity. The individuality is really at the heart of each person, and to embrace that individuality is to embrace the magic. Within the embrace of your individuality, you can find the transformative presence, which is a key cornerstone of any wizard, because wizards don't just observe the world, they catalyze change through their presence and actions. When I say magic, I really do mean magic. I'm talking about the real world we're inhabiting, yes, but if you take away your adult gloves and see the world through your child's eyes again, then it becomes obvious that there is really nothing that we are witnessing that is not magical. The same with the water molecule. The fact that reality shifts and changes and has the ability to show itself in so many forms and shapes and experiences, it is really nothing short but magic. So the technology that we're using right now, or the script that I've written to give you this information, all of this is quite incredible when you just really look at it for what it is. But to really enact this magic, you must do something quite counterintuitive, because magic is not being done by forcing it or really trying to get something right. Magic is really done by holding space. If you try too hard to work at something, what you will do is that you will change your ego in a way that constricts and contracts itself. You will become attached to the outcome, and because of this, you will resist your natural expression. You'll lose the authenticity. It's not about the outcome at all. It is to show up for the cause you care for and to show up for what matters to you. Space and time are intimately interconnected. So when you want to work and you simply need to inhabit the space of working, well, then this is all that you need to do. Eliminate everything and then put yourself into the space of working. And the work then will happen automatically as you are in the right space for it. It is just being okay with the space of silence. The silence is crucial here because most information we consume is poison and very low quality. But in the space of silence, original and new ideas come to light that are completely your own. This is where the real change happens. You know, it's in the time and in the silence where genuine magic emerges. Holding space for yourself, your thoughts and your emotions, and not getting distracted by worldly endeavors. Another real form of magic that you should really not underestimate is your own speech. The way you speak reveals so much about yourself, and you can mirror your subconscious by speaking the right words. The power of language really shapes reality, and the amount it has shaped it, if you really ponder it, it is really insane, unfeasibly immense. When humans first invented logic, it was literally seen as magic. Never before could ideas get transported from one mind to another with such rich detail. This was the basic of all human magic that came afterward. It is really language. It is the ability to communicate intelligence. Understanding this power of language then shapes the reality that you see. Because if you use your words with precision and intention, well, then you will transform those around you, but especially first yourself. Because words are powerful and they do carry a lot of meaning within them, and they reveal what your subconscious mind is actually thinking. In the way you speak, you can catch yourself, maybe in a lie, maybe some shadow aspect of you, or maybe some genuine desire for a better future that kind of contradicts the rut that you've been stuck in. Because spoken word is the first form of embodied change. If you don't fall into the dark magics of lying and manipulation, speech is the embodiment of change. It informs the world of your thoughts and intentions. When words align with actions, then Ascension follows soon. Therefore, it is crucial for every wizard to cultivate intuition. People really struggle with rationality and intuition. People think it has to be one extreme or the other. A lot go completely analytical and completely lose their grounding in reality, because they are so much stuck in their conceptual frameworks that they even deny very simple aspects of reality, just like the ability to exist as consciousness and have an actual connection with consciousness often gets lost in the mental fabrications of thoughts and the mind. But there's also this other side where people are almost too intuitive and follow each and every single impulse of their mind. Then suddenly, thinking that everything already is perfect and all moves on its own can cause the idea that there's nothing that you need to actually do. So you actually stop occupying the space of work. Your intuition actually is misguided because your intuition tells you to do what feels best in the shortest amount of time. So there needs to be a balance. You want to likely strengthen whatever part is weaker of you, or you want to put in both in full force so that they start to equalize each other. Because they're not really at odds. They both are immensely powerful, both extreme intuition and hyper rationality. And with that comes one of the most fundamental cornerstones of the wizard, and it's comfort within the uncertainty of the world. The ambiguity of life and the not knowing what lies ahead is such an important thing to make peace with, because a wizard dwells in the wonder of this unknowing. The world might be in danger, everything might seem like it is falling off a cliff, but there's comfort in knowing that cycles only repeat themselves until they are broken. This is order in the chaos, and there's no archetype that knows this deeper than the embodiment of the wizard itself. You only need faith in magic, and simply do the impossible. Doing the impossible means showing the shadow side of your ego to yourself, showing the limitations that you have imposed on yourself, and then admit that they are wrong, that you are much more powerful than you think you are. You've been given a gift to influence the world around you in ways you can't even conceive. This is the real danger in magic. It is the real potential in its fear. It is to see what you're actually capable of, a great force of incredible destruction and incredible creation, and to not cower away from that, but to actually embrace it, is what will give your life more meaning than it ever has, because it shows you that you're much more powerful than you ever conceived yourself to be capable of. So what would a wizard be without the greatest powers of the universe? You can see that all fiction is a representation of something real. I mean, this video is no joke. The world needs wizards, and you can be one. The wiser you act in this life, the better it all will become. The inner child is crucial to understand your own power, and to not fall victim to the shadow of this inner child. I'd really recommend you watch this video next.